Buckingham Palace has just announced that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has died.
Welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 breaking news stories of 2022 in the UK.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
For this list, we're looking at stories that happened in or primarily affect the United Kingdom, and won't be focusing much on international news. Let us know what you think the biggest headline of 2022 was. Number 10. No second referendum.
We respect the clear and definitive ruling of the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom.
After its appeal to the Supreme Court didn't work out, it broke in November that the Scottish Government wouldn't be allowed to hold a second independence referendum.
Supporters of independence and a smaller number of opponents, holding rival flags and banners.
Previously, the SNP-led government in Holyrood had been planning to hold the vote in late 2023 and was prepared to defy Westminster to do it. It's not too clear what the SNP will do now, as in the aftermath of Brexit, in which all of Scotland voted to remain, it looks increasingly likely that Sturgeon's side would win the vote.
So this ruling confirms that the notion of the UK as a voluntary partnership of nations, if it ever was a reality, is no longer a reality.
Then again, other Scottish politicians have said the SNP ought to focus on other issues, like the cost of living crisis, before holding another vote. Number 9. Hottest temperature on record.
The hot weather of early last week was unprecedented, with high temperatures recorded across much of the UK.
The UK wasn't the only country reporting record-breaking temperatures during the 2022 heat waves. Much of Europe was also affected, and a similar heat wave also struck North America. But that doesn't mean we felt its effects any less, as on July 19th, Coningsby in Lincolnshire reported a temperature of 40.3 degrees Celsius. It stayed so hot for so long that some places in Yorkshire ended up having tropical nights.
And the heat combined with dry weather to lower water levels and create conditions for fires to spread.
Fires also began to rage in some places, and there were concerns that we might have power cuts and water shortages.
It's been an hour since the fire started, and it's travelled more than 200 metres west to these gardens.
Luckily, this didn't come to fruition, but it still doesn't bode well for future summers. Number 8. Egg shortage.
The current avian flu outbreak is the largest in UK history. 3.1 million birds have been culled so far.
In November, major supermarkets began rationing how many cartons of eggs customers could buy, much like how bottles of cooking oil were rationed at the beginning of the year due to the war in Ukraine. The war isn't to blame for the egg shortage, however. That's largely because the country is experiencing its biggest outbreak of bird flu on record.
It is a risk. If bird flu, for example, gets into turkeys, that could cause holy carnage. That could cause real supply chain issues.
This means large numbers of chickens sadly need to be culled, while the ones that aren't must remain indoors.
A bird flu vaccine like the one they're developing here could break the cycle of infection between farmed and wild birds, but trade rules currently prohibit their use.
However, some farmers have said that the real reason is because supermarkets are shortchanging them, rather than bumping up the price of eggs, meaning they've lowered egg production to cut their losses. Number 7. Bullying allegations. It's seemingly now a regular occurrence that cabinet ministers have bullying probes against them, as Priti Patel was similarly investigated back in 2020.
The Prime Minister had been made aware of the bullying allegations, so that then dominated the Sunday shows and headlines.
But now, 2 more senior Tories, Gavin Williamson and Dominic Raab, have both faced allegations themselves. Aggressive messages sent by Williamson to civil servants were revealed by the Sunday Times, causing a scandal that got too big for even him to weather, and he resigned.
Yes, Dermot, just literally in the past few moments, a tweet has gone out with Gavin Williamson's resignation letter. I haven't even read it myself yet.
Sunak has since appointed a top lawyer to conduct a bullying probe into Raab, the Justice Secretary, to investigate how poorly he treats his staffers.
I am confident that I have behaved professionally throughout, but Immediately I heard that 2 complaints had been made.
Number 6. Lionesses win the Euros. It's not all been bad news this year. In 2021, the English men's team went all the way to the finals of the Euros before frustratingly losing on penalties against Italy. 2022 saw the women's Euros, however, and the women's England team is just as talented. They were able to not only go all the way to the finals, but win the entire tournament, beating Germany 2-1 at Wembley Stadium in August, following a goal in extra time by Chloe Kelly. It's hoped that this win will make women's football more popular, with the final breaking records for its attendance. Number 5. The Rwanda Plan.
A handshake in the grip of controversy. This formal agreement between Britain and Rwanda is, according to the Home Secretary, a world first in the approach to dealing with asylum seekers.
In April, with Priti Patel still serving as Boris Johnson's Home Secretary, it was announced that the British government had concocted a new plan of how to deal with asylum seekers. Pack them up and send them away to facilities in Rwanda at cost.
In a highly controversial change to UK immigration policy, the government plans to send anyone deemed to be entering the country illegally to Rwanda in East Africa.
This was immediately unpopular, but more than that, when the first deportation flights were scheduled to leave, the European Court of Human Rights, which we're still a part of, though the Tories are trying to change that, blocked it.
Israel scrapped a similar arrangement with Rwanda in 2018 after it emerged that asylum seekers ended up in the hands of people traffickers.
Worse yet, those asylum seekers in Rwanda wouldn't be allowed to apply for asylum in the UK. They'd be forced to apply for it in Rwanda and stay there. Number 4. Manston Detention Centre. Liz Truss replaced Priti Patel, an ardent supporter of Boris Johnson, with Suella Braverman as Home Secretary. Though Braverman resigned after leaking sensitive information, she was promptly reappointed by Sunak. Then a massive scandal broke out about Manston Detention Centre in Kent.
Why lock people up when people have come here to make a life? They want to work, they want to make their lives better, they want to contribute to society.
According to officials, the Home Office was refusing to sign off on processing the refugees held there or sending them to hotels, which led to huge overcrowding in tents, unsanitary conditions, and disease outbreaks.
Now there are concerns that outbreaks of infectious disease at the overcrowded reception centre at Manston in Kent could be repeated across the country.
It was claimed that this never happened under Patel, despite her rather merciless approach to immigration, with responsibility firmly on Braverman's doorstep.
We're meant to be human beings, and we're treating people like that.
It's now being investigated following the death of at least one detainee. Number 3. Boris Johnson resigns. He's been plagued by scandal for his entire time in the public eye, going all the way back to his time as a journalist and Mayor of London.
It is clearly now the will of the Parliamentary Conservative Party that there should be a new leader of that party and therefore a new Prime Minister.
In Downing Street, he had the mishandling of the pandemic, Partygate, and eventually the revelations about Deputy Chief Whip Chris Pincher. His premiership eventually came to an end in July, following the resignations of 57 ministers, including Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak.
And in the last few days, I've tried to persuade my colleagues that it would be eccentric to change governments when we're delivering so much.
Johnson stayed on as a caretaker Prime Minister for 2 more months, while a drawn-out leadership contest got underway, in which time he did absolutely nothing about any of the important issues facing Britons, the cost of living crisis chief among them.
And, my friends, in politics, no one is remotely indispensable.
Number 2. The lettuce won. Following a tongue-in-cheek article suggesting that Liz Truss's cabinet might not last as long as a lettuce, which has a 10-day shelf life, the Daily Star decided to launch this live-streamed publicity stunt. Their stream of the lettuce, decked out with googly eyes and a wig, had thousands of people tuning in at its peak, all to see whether Liz Truss's government would last longer than the vegetable. As we all know, it did not.
I was elected by the Conservative Party with a mandate to change this.
The lettuce was beginning to wither, but Truss still took to the podium and resigned as Tory leader on the 20th of October.
I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
In total, she was in number 10 for 50 days, making her the shortest serving PM in British history.
Let us rejoice.
Number 1. Passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Buckingham Palace has just announced that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has died.
Where were you on September 8th, 6:30 p.m, when the death of our longest reigning monarch was announced to the world? Chances are you remember exactly where you were when you found out, regardless of your opinion on the monarchy. We knew it was coming as she was 96, but the nation still wasn't prepared in a lot of ways for Her Majesty's death.
After 4 full days of lying in state, the coffin of Queen Elizabeth left Westminster Hall at 10:44.
The outpouring of national grief was unprecedented, with a 10-day period of mandated mourning, and, on the day of the funeral, nearly all shops in the country, including many supermarkets and pharmacies, closed their doors. We now have a king, Charles III, for the first time since 1952, and Camilla is the new Queen Consort.
Her eldest son and heir, Charles, the former Prince of Wales, is now the king.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojoUK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.